Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Mitchell Ringos. The City of Thunder Bay is imposing stiffer penalties on owners of pets who repeatedly engage in nuisance-related behaviors. That decision came at Monday's council meeting and officially amended the city's animal bylaw. Some of the stiffer penalties will happen for owners whose pets repeatedly defecate on other people's land, threaten people or other animals, and are found on school property during hours when students are outside. The recommendation was in response to an increased number of calls in recent years, specifically involving the same animals. City Licensing and Enforcement Manager Doug Vincent says the bylaw is meant to address repeat offenders.
By creating a fence that shows a public nuisance, it is a nuisance to the public to have the same person, the same animals repetitively at large. We would then use that section alternately to somebody who just their dog got away and was running at large. We may or may not issue a ticket. They may get a warning, but this signifies that this is a real problem situation and that we are looking for a stiffer penalty.
The exact amount for the fines will be set by the courts, but is expected to be more than the current fine for animals running at large, which is $200. United Way of Thunder Bay and Wasaya Airways brought back the ultimate tug-of-war challenge for the 5th annual Wasaya United Way plane pull. Teams competed for the fastest time to pull an airplane down the tarmac, all for a good cause. Jessica Clement has the story.
Throughout the day, teams of 6 to 8 people tested their might and teamwork while also competing for the best time as they pulled a 26,000-pound airplane.
Keep going! You can do it!
Each team got 3 attempts to pull the plane over 50 feet. 14 teams participated in this year's event, including students from Dennis Franklin Cromartie High School. Team member Marco Fiddler says it was no easy feat, but they had a strategy.
I was trying to communicate as much as I can to my teammates, and at first I was just telling them to get your form, like at first, and then we seen how the other people were pulling, and then we just adapted our thinking and our strat to pull it.
The event was in support of the United Way of Thunder Bay, with the money raised going towards the organization's various programs. It's been 4 years since they've been able to host the fundraiser with Wasaya Airways, and CEO Albert Brule says it's great being able to bring it back.
It's tough trying to get back up and running. You know, it took a lot of work, a lot of effort, a lot of teamwork to pull the event off for this year. And we see it as, just growing and getting bigger and better every year. The teams that are here are having a great time, and we have fabulous volunteers, fabulous sponsors, fabulous supporters to make this possible.
Brule adds this year they didn't really have a fundraising goal, but the event usually raises around $15,000 to $20,000.
As I said, it was a little challenging getting it back up and off the ground. So our goal for this year was really to maximize participation, get it back up and running, and sure, if it raises some great money for community, that's important too. But we really just want people to have a good time, and then next year we'll do it bigger and better than ever.
And with the successful return of the plane pull, organizers are already looking forward to next year's event. Registration will open up in early spring to give teams plenty of time to prepare. Jessica Clement, TVT News.
Members of the community gathered at Waverly Park for an International Day of Peace ceremony this morning, hosted by the Lakehead Rotary Club. The theme of this year's ceremony was End Racism and Build Peace. The cadets marched in to open the event under the Thunder Brass music. The almost 100 people in attendance were then serenaded by 12-year-old Jalen Nelson's renditions of O Canada and What the World Needs Now. Lakehead Rotary Club hosted the event this year with Port Arthur and Fort William Rotary Clubs in attendance. President of Lakehead Rotary, Sharon Hollinsworth, says how important it is to take their messages shared today into everyday life.
I would just encourage everyone to take a moment and reflect on peace, and as we approach truth and reconciliation, to think about that as well. And of course, it's Neighbor Day today, so we have a lot to be grateful for. Come together and celebrate.
I'm so proud that our Rotary clubs locally and around the world continue with this tradition of having Peace Day every year and involving our communities in becoming more aware of how to overcome some of the challenges and conflicts that face us. locally, globally, and we are making a difference.
Following speeches from Reverend Carrie McLaughlin and Chief Warrant Officer Andrew Hotram about their peacekeeping missions, the event was capped off with Kevin Holloway and the Thunder Bay Rotarians' version of John Lennon's classic, Give Peace a Chance. Meanwhile, sailors from the HMCS Griffin marched through Marina Park today to show their thanks to the city for giving them freedom of the city, which Commander Nathaniel Molson says is an honor bestowed on military units.
This is a kind of something that developed out of the 15th century where the leader of the town or the village would let the military into the walls and kind of recognizing them as a respected, responsible force to be in the community.
The sailors made their way from the boat launch to the Navy Anchorage, where they had a ceremony addressed by Molson and Mayor Ken Boschkoff. Following the parade, personnel immediately made their way back to the HMCS Griffin to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the Naval Reserves and hold an open house. Molson adds that events like the Freedom of the City Parade are essential to continuing the relationship between the city and the military.
You know, in Thunder Bay, we have a positive relationship with the community, with the city and the citizens. But I think that it's always great to show the community members that we are here, that we're present, and that we're operating every day of the week. You know, 365 days a year, the military is in this community.
A Toronto-based company conducted a pretty interesting experiment in our region this week that tested fully automated hands-free flights between the Iroquois Falls and Cochrane airports. As Lydia Chubak tells us, the new technology will eventually serve remote areas of Canada with food and other time-sensitive projects that need to be flown in.
Some aerospace engineers from Toronto and a pilot brought their innovation to Cochrane this week. It's a plane that's been designed to fly hands-free and fully automated. Their company, Ribbit, chose to test the invention for the first time, flying the 46 kilometers back and forth between the Cochrane and Iroquois Falls airports.
And overall, the tests were pretty successful. So over the next few weeks, we'll be reviewing that data with Transport Canada and an independent test verifier that's associated with the contract that we have. And then continuing flight tests back here in Burlington, Ontario. And later on in the new year, we'll be mobilizing to Foremost, Alberta for even more flight tests with nobody inside the plane.
Wang believes the autonomous plane is a way to resolve issues faced by remote northern communities that don't have year-round road access.
There's about 120 destinations all across the north that today have no year-round road access. And so airplanes play a really critical role in getting things like food, medicine, other time-sensitive or perishable supplies in and out of these communities. And that's where we want to start.
Wang will be participating at an event in Ottawa next week that aims to showcase what other autonomous machines like drones that could be working in our skies, farms, or on our roads.
Drones are not there to replace humans. Drones are there to cover off the dirty, messy, dangerous jobs that humans shouldn't do so that we can focus on the things that really matter on the ground or in the air.
Ribbit officials say the company has already signed up a number of wholesalers and retailers, and once it's completed its trials within the next couple of years, it can start its flights to supply some of Canada's remote communities. Lydia Chubak, CTV News, Timmins.
Thunder Bay hosted the opening of an annual event celebrating arts and heritage. The Ontario Culture Days Festival kicked off at the waterfront last night, showcasing talented local artists, dancers, and artisans. Cilios Bellows has more.
It's an opportunity to celebrate and showcase Thunder Bay's cultural diversity and artistic talent. The Ontario Culture Days Festival officially opened Friday night here in Thunder Bay at Prince Arthur's Landing as part of a national event. The evening began with live dancing and performances at Market Square for the public to enjoy. There was a little something for everyone, though, including a literary stage where patrons could take in live spoken readings, with plenty of visual art exhibitions set up as well.
Arts and culture is an integral and important part of our day-to-day lives.
Ontario Culture Days Executive Director Ruth Burns says she was happy to see the great turnout and talked a bit about what makes the festival so special.
Not only is it bringing the public into the creative process, we hope to connect the public with their local artists and storytellers, but it's also a way to just celebrate and give thanks for what's happening in our communities.
Happy to have art that is accessible to anybody who's walking by on the street.
Betty Karpik is a land-based artist from Thunder Bay who will have her piece presented on the West Wall of Goods & Co. next weekend between 6 and 11 p.m. Karpik talks about the event and how it propels art and culture in the city.
I think it's really exciting. I love seeing that space being used. And when we think about culture and all the ways that we can embrace different ways of seeing the world, different ways of being in the world, I feel it's really empowering for people.
Ontario Culture Days will be continuing until October 15th with free events here in Thunder Bay almost every day for the next 2 weeks. If you'd like to learn more about the festivities or some of the local artists involved, you can visit Ontario Culture Days website. Vasilios Bellos, TBT News.
And we're now joined by sports anchor Joe Sadowski. I know we want to talk about the Blue Jays, but we have some local hockey back in Thunder Bay, and it's very exciting.
The Walleyes home opener kicked off last night, and I was at the rink, and it was a heck of a game in the first period, but they did trail off in the second, but we'll have those highlights and more coming up right after the break.